Picture this for a second. You are sitting on your couch, you open up your phone, and the first thing you see is a notification from a sports forum that looks like it is literally on fire. The Indiana Fever community is not just upset, they are absolutely losing their minds. People are screaming into the digital void, typing in all caps, and calling for the heads of the front office staff. Why? Because the news just broke that the team is carrying 7 guards. 7. People are looking at the roster and then looking at Aaliyah Boston standing there as one of the only true anchors in the paint, and they are crying foul. They are calling the coaching staff saboteurs. They are saying that the team is trying to bury Caitlin Clark's talent by forcing her to play off the ball, turning the most electric playmaker in the history of women's basketball into a ghost on the perimeter. The narrative is that the Fever are throwing away their future. But if you actually stop and look at the moves being made on the chessboard, you start to see something much more calculated. You see a strategy that is as cold as it is brilliant. This is not a mistake. This is not incompetence. This is the most ruthless game of strategic positioning the WNBA has ever seen, and today we are going to tear it all down and show you what is really happening behind the curtains of the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. If you stick around until the end of this journey, you are going to see the world of the WNBA through a completely different lens. We are going to talk about why signing an army of guards is actually the only way to turn Caitlin Clark into a tactical nuclear weapon. We are going to dive into a secret defensive metric that proves why a traditional old-school center would actually be the worst thing for Clark's career. And most importantly, we are going to look at the ultimatum that Clark delivered this season, a message that is so much bigger than just basketball. But before we get into the heavy hitting, I have to give you a quick reality check. Everything we are discussing today is based on what is out there in the public eye, the verified reports, the film study, and the deep dive data analysis. This channel is not an official mouthpiece for Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever, or the league. We aren't here to cheer for the fans' rage. And we aren't here to be lawyers for the front office. We are just here to look at the numbers, look at the tape, and tell you what is actually going on. All of this is for your entertainment and to give you the information you need to win every argument at the sports bar. Now, let's talk about that 7 guards paradox, because that is where the anger starts. If you go on social media right now, it is a war zone. You see comments saying things like, "How can you expect to win a championship with only one true center?" Or 7 guards and only Aaliyah Boston. What are they thinking? Fans are literally threatening to burn their season tickets if Stephanie White keeps Clark away from the ball. But here is the thing, the crowd is looking at the numbers on the back of the jerseys, but they aren't looking at the geometry of the hardwood. It all starts with one name, Kelsey Mitchell. When the Fever handed her that Supermax one-year contract worth $249,244, people gasped. That is a lot of money for a one-year deal. But you have to understand that Mitchell is the engine that makes the Caitlin Clark backcourt system purr. If you lose Mitchell, you don't just lose a player who can drop 30 points on any given night. You lose the entire architectural framework that makes Indiana dangerous. Think about it. When Mitchell puts her head down and drives to the rim with that lightning-fast speed, the defense has to make a choice. They have to collapse. They have to help. And the second they take one step toward Mitchell, Caitlin Clark is standing at the logo, wide open, ready to bury a 3. Mitchell isn't stealing Clark's spotlight. She is the one holding the flashlight so the world can see how bright Clark can shine. Experts in the field aren't calling this contract a handout or a charity move for a veteran. They are calling it justice. Mitchell has given nearly a decade of her life to this organization through the lean years, the losing seasons, and the rebuilds. This contract is a statement. It says that Indiana is now a destination where stars are taken care of. And from a business perspective, keeping it to a one-year deal is a masterstroke. It keeps the books clean so that in the very near future the team can back up the Brinks truck for Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. It is a win for the culture and a win for the cap space. But I know what you're thinking. Even if the guards are great, what about the trenches? The fans are screaming for a big man, someone who can stand there like a brick wall and protect Caitlin from the physical play that sometimes looks more like a mixed martial arts fight than a basketball game. They want a bodyguard. But let's look at what the data actually tells us about how Caitlin Clark plays the game. Last year, the problem wasn't a lack of effort from the forwards, it was a lack of compatibility. When Clark grabs a long rebound or gets an outlet pass, she doesn't just walk the ball up the court. She pushes the pace. She turns the game into a track meet. In that system, the first player to run down the floor determines whether that play is a highlight reel transition bucket or a slow, agonizing half-court grind. If you have a traditional heavy-footed center, they are always going to be 2 steps behind. They arrive late, they clog the lane, and they occupy the space where Caitlin needs to be driving. Being 1/4 of a second late in the WNBA is the difference between an easy layup and running into a parked bus of a defense. That is why the front office didn't go out and sign a giant. Instead, they got Monique Billings. Billings was practically engineered for this system. She is a mobile, high-energy forward who can run like the wind. She doesn't need to hold the ball for 10 seconds to be effective. She creates what we call vertical spacing. She forces the defense to sprint back and guard the rim, which opens up those massive driving lanes for Clark and Mitchell. It also fixes the defensive headache. Aaliyah Boston likes to play a drop coverage style, which means the person playing next to her has to be incredibly agile to switch onto smaller players and cover ground. Billings does that better than almost anyone. The starting 5 is a masterpiece of modern basketball theory, but as we all know, a team is only as strong as its weakest link, and last year, the bench was a massive problem. Every time Caitlin Clark went to the bench to get a drink of water, the Fever's offensive rating fell off a cliff. The ball stopped moving. It turned into a game of hero ball, where players were just taking tough contested shots because the system had stalled out. This led to some of the ugliest moments of the season on social media. A segment of the fan base, frustrated and angry, started attacking the rookies. They went after Raven Johnson, digging up old comments and dragging her through the mud. It was toxic and it was unnecessary. People tried to frame it as jealousy, but the truth is much deeper. Attacking a young player doesn't make the team better, it just creates a locker room full of tension. The front office knew they had to fix this, and they did it in the quietest way possible. They brought in Tasha Harris. You might have missed it. It was basically a leaked practice video, but Harris is exactly what the doctor ordered. She shoots 40% from beyond the arc. She plays defense with a chip on her shoulder. She is a veteran who knows how to run a pick and roll without panicking. With Harris leading the second unit, the coach can finally let Clark rest without feeling like the game is slipping away. It gives the team a security blanket they haven't had in years. But all of this, the guards, the spacing, the bench leads to the biggest moment of the offseason. Caitlin Clark didn't just come into this year looking to improve. She walked into the room, looked the league in the eye, and drew a line in the sand. She made it clear that this isn't about development or getting better anymore. She said, and I am quoting here, "This is about dominance. It is a championship or it is nothing." That is a terrifying statement for a young player to make, but it is also exactly what this franchise needed to hear. The pressure is immense. When you look at the economics of the WNBA, the margin for error is razor thin. The total salary cap for a team is only around $7 million. When you add up the supermax for Mitchell, the rookie contract for Clark, and the massive extension that is coming for Aaliyah Boston, you are looking at over $3 million tied up in just 3 people. That leaves less than $4 million to fill out the rest of the roster. This is where the front office had to become architects. They started hunting for players like Alana Smith and Azura Stevens. Think about the nightmare that creates for an opposing coach. Stevens is 6 feet 6 inches tall, but she can shoot 38% from the three-point line. If you put her on the floor at the same time as Aaliyah Boston, what do? If you stay out to guard the shooters, Boston will eat you alive in the post. If you double-team the post, Stevens and Clark will rain threes on your head until the game is over. This isn't a roster built to compete. This is a roster built to win playoff basketball in every single environment. The window for this team is wide open, but it is also closing faster than people realize. By the time 2027 rolls around, the new collective bargaining agreement is going to change the rules of the game. Every contract signed right now is like trying to thread a needle while riding a roller coaster. You can't blink. You can't miss. And that brings us to the heart of the matter. Beyond the stats, beyond the wins and losses, there is a lesson here that applies to all of us. We often hear people say that pressure builds champions, but that isn't quite right. Pressure is just weight. It is how you respond to that weight that determines who you become. Caitlin Clark stepped into a professional league that in many ways was not ready for the sheer magnitude of her presence. She carried a level of expectation that no rookie should ever have to carry. Every night she had a target on her back. Every night people were waiting for her to fail. And yet, she stayed true to her vision. The greatest thing about her isn't the 40-foot jumpers or the no-look passes. The greatest thing is her audacity. She had the courage to step up and tell a multi-million-dollar organization, from the CEO down to the water boy, that they needed to work harder to keep up with her ambition. When the entire system seems like it is designed to slow you down and the world is still screaming your name, that isn't just luck. That is proof that when you are truly excellent, the world has no choice but to change the rules for you. This isn't just a story about a basketball team in Indiana. This is a blueprint for how to handle greatness. So, I want to hear from you. If Caitlin Clark has ever given you one of those moments where you jumped off your couch and screamed because you couldn't believe what you just saw, I want you to go down to the comments right now and drop a basketball emoji. Let's show the world how many people are actually standing behind her. And let's be real for a minute. I want your honest takes. Do you think the league is treating her fairly? Do you think the media is giving her a fair shake, or are they just looking for clicks? And what about this roster? Do you see the 7 guards as a tactical stroke of genius, or do you think the defense is going to crumble when the playoffs start? I read every single comment, and on this channel, we don't delete opinions just because they are different. We want the truth. Every time you leave a comment, it helps this story reach another sports fan who deserves to hear the full picture, not just the sensationalized headlines you see on the news. If you believe that the truth still matters in sports, then make some noise in the comment section right now. You now have the full breakdown of the Indiana Fever's master plan and the reality of Caitlin Clark's journey. But believe it or not, there is another story unfolding in the WNBA right now that makes this entire controversy look like a preseason warm-up. If you think the drama around Clark is intense, you are not going to believe what Angel Reese has actually been going through behind the scenes. I just finished a deep dive on that story, and trust me, it is a roller coaster you do not want to miss. It is on your screen right now. Go ahead, click it, and I will see you over there to break down the rest of the league. Let's keep this conversation going because the game is only just beginning. Think about the atmosphere in the arena. Every time Caitlin crosses half court, the crowd holds its breath. You can feel the static electricity in the air. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of the hours of film, the thousands of practice shots, and the tactical decisions that we just talked about. When we look at players like Tasha Harris, we see more than just a backup guard. We see the result of a front office that refused to settle. They knew that if they wanted to win, they couldn't just have one star. They needed a constellation. They needed players who were willing to do the dirty work, the screening, the boxing out, and the defensive rotations that never show up in a highlights package, but always show up in the win column. And let's go back to the idea of the 7 guards for a moment. In the modern game, the traditional positions of point guard, shooting guard, and small forward are becoming obsolete. We are moving toward a world of positionless basketball. In this new era, it doesn't matter how tall you are, it matters what skills you bring to the floor. Can you shoot? Can you pass? Can you defend multiple positions? The Fever didn't sign 7 guards in the traditional sense. They signed 7 versatile playmakers who can all handle the ball and put pressure on the defense. They are building a swarm. Imagine being a defensive coordinator trying to plan for a team where 5 players on the floor can all initiate the fast break. It is a nightmare. It forces the defense to be perfect for 40 minutes, and in professional sports, nobody is perfect for 40 minutes. Eventually, someone is going to miss a rotation, someone is going to get tired. And that is when Caitlin Clark strikes. The narrative of the angry crowd is a powerful one, but it is often a shallow one. It is easy to look at a box score and complain. It is much harder to look at the salary cap, the player archetypes, and the long-term vision of a franchise and see the beauty in the struggle. This season is going to be one of the most scrutinized in the history of the sport. Every pass Clark makes, every shot she misses, and every coaching decision Stephanie White makes is going to be dissected by millions of people. But that is the price of admission for greatness. You don't get the logo threes and the sold-out arenas without the controversy and the 7 guards debates. It is all part of the same story. We are watching history in real time. We are watching the evolution of a league that is finally getting the investment and the attention it has deserved for decades. And at the center of it all is a young woman from Iowa who decided that being good wasn't enough. She wanted to be the best, and she wanted to bring everyone else along with her. Whether you love the Indiana Fever or you're just here for the drama, you have to respect the hustle. You have to respect the fact that they are willing to take risks, even if it means facing the wrath of their own fans. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that silences the critics is a championship trophy. And if this 7 guards strategy works, that trophy might be arriving in Indiana sooner than anyone expected. So keep your eyes on the court. Don't get distracted by the noise. Look at the way the floor is spaced. Look at the way the ball moves. Look at the way the players support one another when things get tough. That is where the real story is. That is where the championships are won. And as always, thank you for being part of this community. We are here to bring you the deep dives, the tactical breakdowns, and the human stories that make sports the greatest spectacle on earth. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we have a lot more coming your way. The WNBA season is just getting started, and we are going to be here for every single minute of it. Stay sharp, stay informed, and I will see you in the next one. The strategy behind the roster construction is a testament to the fact that the front office is thinking 3 steps ahead. They aren't just worried about the next game, they are worried about the next 3 years. They are building a culture of accountability and excellence. They are showing the league that they are not afraid to be different. In a world where everyone is trying to copy the last champion, the Fever are trying to build the next one in their own image. They are using the tools they have, the draft picks, the cap space, and the star power, to create something unique. Think about the impact this has on the younger generation. There are girls all over the world watching Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever right now. They aren't just seeing basketball, they are seeing a masterclass in leadership and resilience. They are seeing that it's okay to be the center of attention as long as you have the work ethic to back it up. They are seeing that being part of a team means making sacrifices for the greater good. This is the Caitlin Clark effect. It reaches far beyond the boundaries of the basketball court. It changes the way we think about women's sports, and it changes the way we think about what is possible. So when you hear someone complaining about the 7 guards, just smile. You know something they don't. You know that those 7 guards are the key to unlocking a level of play that we have never seen before. You know that the coaching staff isn't sabotaging Clark. They are giving her the tools to be even better. You know that the justice for Kelsey Mitchell is a down payment on a winning culture. And most of all, you know that the championship or nothing ultimatum wasn't just talk, it was a promise. As we wrap this up, remember that the noise will always be there. The critics will always have something to say, but the results speak for themselves. The Indiana Fever are on a mission, and they aren't letting anything get in their way. Not the media, not the salary cap, and certainly not the skepticism of the crowd. They are playing for keeps. And that is why we watch. That is why we care. That is why we are here day after day breaking down every play and every decision. Because in the end, it's not just a game. It's a pursuit of excellence that inspires us all. So, one last time, if you're with us, let us know. Join the conversation. Be part of the community that looks past the surface and sees the true heart of the game. We are glad to have you here. This journey is going to be legendary, and we are just getting started. I'll see you in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video where we dive even deeper into the world of professional basketball. Until then, keep your head in the game and your eyes on the prize. It's going to be a wild ride.